Well, everyone, you know exactly what they say sometimes. You can run, but you cannot hide. And you can run, but you cannot hide from episode 62 of the Grunge Bible podcast as we welcome you in. My name is Chris Salona, and I am with Ethan Shalloway. And Ethan, I have to say, we can run, but we cannot hide from having to sit down and record this episode. I'm not in the mood to do this right now.
The cat's out of the bag. Yeah, this one caught up to us. But you know, we made a promise that we wouldn't miss an episode, and so we're out here working overtime. It's actually Friday night, and we're about to slam a podcast. So, yeah, we have a lot of stuff going on. I'm actually in Long Beach, California, with our producer Drew McFadden.
Yes.
Shout out to Drew. And Chris, you are back in Boston, getting ready to watch the Celtics Game 6. So there's a lot going on.
Ethan.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I knew that.
it's been a long
so
week.
Funny. Yeah, it's so funny because Jacob, our good friend, he lives in Providence or Boston,
Providence.
And either way, but he went to school in Rhode Island. And Tom, our coach, would always introduces him from Rhode Island, born and raised, you know. And like,
absolutely.
Jacob's like, I am not from there, and I've told him this thousands of times.
I adopt him as a Rhode Islander, so
yeah, 100%.
But yeah, Ethan, you're absolutely right. We said that we wouldn't miss an episode, we wouldn't miss a week. So come hell or high water, this episode is getting released on May the 30th.
Oh hell yes!
And that's pretty much all there is to it. But yeah, aside from our absolute just misery at having to do this at this present moment, how are we feeling right now?
Oh man, so kind to the people.
Hey, we gotta be honest.
Yeah, I know. We're straight shooters
here.
We are straight shooters. Well, you know, I was doing well. I was in Arizona for a little bit, and then I came over. I actually spent some quality time the last few days with some of my best friends from back home. They all live in California now. So, but I actually had a little accident earlier today. My muscle spasm in my back has been just hurting like crazy.
Yeah, that's no fun.
So I'm feeling a little really stiff and pretty one-dimensional. So that kind of took the wind out of my sails for this week. I was having a really good time. I got a flight tomorrow to get back to the East Coast, and we got a busy couple weeks ahead. But all together, though, I am doing quite well. Just this one thing, like I said, my back is giving me trouble. But how are you doing, Chris?
That's good. I'm hanging in. This was a fairly normal week. Got a long weekend upcoming right here. This episode will be released at the tail end of my long weekend, I guess. Yeah, I'm just a little tired today. I slept like shit last night, and I had the day off today, so I was really excited to get a lot of rest. And naturally, I went to bed at 1, and I woke up at 4 o'clock. Then I woke up at 6, and I woke up at 7, and I was just generally disgruntled all day long because of my my inability to get good sleep last night. So I'm not happy about it. There's a lot of things I'm not happy about right now.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. I realized that I'm on day 5 of sleeping on the couch. Well, actually, I think today will be 6.
That catches up to you.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's like
how many?
6.
What is your record for consecutive nights having slept on a couch? Do you is it up there, or is it kind of
like full nights on the couch? This is probably, 6. I don't know if I've never really thought about it. I've never really kept track, but this one may be the new personal record. So I'm gonna go ahead and say 6.
I only ask because a couple of years ago I was in between apartments. I was crashing with a friend, waiting for the next phase, but it was like a month long. I was on a couch. It's kind of wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty long. Yeah. Couch surfing for real.
Hey, someone had to do it. I have a good couch story now, I guess.
Couch girl.
I don't even know her name.
Okay, so episode 62, we have some patrons that we need to thank, because without them, this thing really wouldn't continue, because their support means the world. And we're right over 50, right? I think we have 50.
Yeah, I think we're rolling along at 51 total. I'm a little upset. We have not received any new patrons in quite a while.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
It's been a couple of weeks, so now is your time. Just think of how terrible of a mood Ethan and I are in right now, and then realize that you have the power to lift our spirits by going to Patreon and joining up at the $2, $5, or $10 level. And regardless of what level you join, I will thank you next week. But if you'd like me to thank you every single week, as I'm about to do, You know what to do. You join that top level. You become a top tier patron, and I say your name every week. And you can join the following lovely individuals who help to make this podcast possible. And those names, as we know, are Darian Riddle, Brenda, Alex Long, Captain Hightop, Black Hole Sean, Chris LSMS, Lauren Irene, Nikki Six, Shannon Gorgon, Sue, Sunny Mashburn, Marianne, Kayla Jean, Millie, Alexis Shannon, Jamie Lynn, our number one fan from Australia, What the Fuck's Up Denny's, Release, Rachel Corning, Soup, Doug Endy, Jade Mercado, Wayne Staley, Victor Schaefer, Kara K, Blue Owl, Carlene Salona, and Fresh Tendonitis. So if you want to join that list, you know what to do. It serves multiple purposes at this moment in time. You can receive some recognition, you can do a good thing, and you can lift our spirits because we're not happy.
We will. I can promise that if we have some more patrons next week, we'll be happy.
I promise I'll be in a better mood.
But that's not the only thing that gets us in good mood. Good moods. Music does, in fact,
music
help
does.
us.
It's great.
Yeah, I find myself when you're down, it's always good to go and find something that can bring you up. And when I was driving over here with Nick after we had to drop off a rental car and do some stuff, I was like, put on some Friday tunes, and he was looking. He's like, I don't know if I have any, so I took it and I put on some Steely Dan, and I was really feeling some Windows Down California, just listening to Dirty Work and there. Yeah, and I think there's a pretty extensive playlist on songs that talk about California, have California in the title.
Oh my God, yeah.
I
think every
OAR
single
has
song
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
1960 to 1980 is California based, so
yeah. I was bummed I didn't get to I messaged Cafaro and we tried to meet up, but it was pretty difficult. He was pretty busy this week. Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to be able to meet him in person, which is always a shame.
That time's coming. We'll have to take another trip out there. I'll have to get my ass out to California as well.
Right.
It's the first time in a long time.
So today's episode is going to be pretty casual because we got a lot going on, and we are, it's Friday night and we're just chilling. We both have our drinks. I'm drinking a glass of white wine.
Having a beverage, a beer.
Yeah, so we're just gonna sit here and talk music, talk grunge, but we actually are gonna talk post-grunge because we did a little poll and had people ask or have people tell us what they wanted to hear about, and some people wanted to hear about post-grunge, and we can always talk shop about the immortal bands of post-grunge, of what makes post-grunge, and I know you're excited for this, Chris.
Absolutely. There's few things that wind my clock in the musical realm quite like some post-grunge. Very, very excited to talk about this always because it's kind of strange because growing up, I was born in the mid-90s as you were. What it was called post-grunge and what kind of gets made fun of now, a lot of those bands were the bands that were like, oh yeah, this is rock and roll when we were kids. Like when you're listening to FM top 40 radio, you're like, oh yeah, 3 days, like this is good rock and roll. This is hard. This is heavy. This is great. And then as you get older, now the jig's up and people make fun of these bands. And I don't really get it totally because I don't think the bands are to blame for what people make fun of them for. But
would you say that? Would you say that this genre, and if we put in a genre, the post-grunge, gets made fun of more than any other genre?
I mean, at least for me, my point of view is skewed. I think just because of my own personal taste, but it's got to be post-grunge or hair metal because the level of passion with which people hate on or make fun of those two genres. I think in rock and roll or in like guitar driven music, I think it's fairly unrivaled. I mean, you got your people hate hair metal. They don't casually hate it. They're like me, they want to see Motley Crue erased from the record. And same thing with the post grunge haters out there. I think it's fairly common that they it kind of makes their blood boil a little bit. So yeah, I would say that. I mean, it's just for some reason in popular opinion, it hasn't seemed to age. It hasn't aged super well, which I don't know if that's their fault. And I mean, for you and me, I mean, this we do like some good post grunge from time to time.
So yeah, absolutely. How would you categorize post grunge? What do you like when people say hey, this band is post grunge? Do you like? Yeah, what do you think of? What's the first band? What's the first band that you think of when someone says post-grunge?
I think it's got to be either Bush or Nickelback. But in terms of how I personally categorize it, well, I guess also how I think the world categorized it, it's very similar to how they categorized grunge. And I think it's just a chronological time period where it's like anything that happened after this that had a guitar and had someone singing is post grunge. The same way that, you know, during the grunge era, I would say 1990 to 94, give or take. I mean, anything that was coming out of the Pacific Northwest, anything that was kind of loud, guitar-driven rock and roll, they just all bundled up into this whole grunge thing. And I think it was the same thing where, you know, after 94, I would say, any sort of rock and roll or alternative rock or anything, they just kind of packaged it up. And I think the motivations were the same for grunge and post-grunge. They packaged them up that way because it sold. You know, you had the same reason in the 90s that they were selling flannels that were grunge flannels, and Doc Martens were flying off the shelves, and every single band in Seattle that had a pulse was getting signed to major labels. I think it's the same thing, that post-grunge kind of all got lumped together because there was something that was popular at the time, and people that want to make money obviously are going to utilize at best and exploit at worst the thing that is popular at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there was definitely a greater emphasis on getting on the radio. So a lot cleaner, a lot like maybe slower, mid-tempo type music. And I think I saw like a lot of the bands, like you hear a lot of, it sounds a lot like another band in the era that was kind of doing the similar things.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's, I guess it's not really like at first I thought post-grunge is bands that have the same exact style, just they missed the window. They didn't live in Seattle and stuff.
Yeah, they were like 5 years too young.
But it is kind of like that softer rock that they kind of, I mean, yeah, it's a different kind of, maybe a little different goal.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was maybe a little bit more digestible than some of the stuff. And I don't know to the extent that maybe they may have been writing for the radio in a way. So it's like there's two sides, two ways, in my opinion, that you can kind of interpret, you know, what was going on at the time. And it's like, number one, you had people that were probably inspired by what was going on in the 80s and early 90s, and naturally, because they were inspired by it, they made music that was in the image of the music that they were inspired by. You know, that's the honest point of view. And then you have other people that I'm sure out there like, oh, they were just a bunch of people that were capitalizing on the legacy of Kurt Cobain, and they were just trying to look like him and sound like him and make their guitars sound exactly like his, and so on and so forth. And I mean, there seems to be no middle ground with how people view this era. It's like they were either all frauds or it was all just great music. And I mean, I'm sure band by band, case by case, even song by song, it's all different. I mean, I don't know a lot of the backstories or the inspirations for a lot of the songs that are in this era, and we'll never know. But I mean, it's all about how you interpret it, I think, and if you value it, then absolutely you got to listen to this stuff. But yeah, it's an interesting era. What about you? Like, the first band that comes to mind when someone says post-grunge?
Yeah, I think Bush is a good example.
Yeah.
Stained, I think of a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, Bush kind of mainly because I feel like they have heavier kind of guitar riffs, and it seemed like maybe they were just on the outside. But I do think of like Matchbox 20 and like Goo Goo Dolls and like the softer side of rock and roll during that time. The heartthrobs of music and stuff, and the lyrics were, you know, I feel like the grunge that we love, I mean, they had a lot more, probably the lyrics were a little bit deeper in nature, and the post-grunge, these other bands are a little bit more straightforward with the lyrics and a little more blunt, but I think people like really resonated with that at the time. So yeah, I think like, I mean, of course, Nickelback and 3 Days Grace, Seether. I mean, is Korn post-grunge? I mean,
in my opinion, maybe that's new metal. It's post-grunge. I mean,
right? It came after grunge. So
well, and the funny thing is there's so many. Like, I think any rock band from 1995 to 2005, you can look online and somewhere someone is
Creed.
going to categorize them as post-grunge. I mean, for example, they say that Matchbox 20 is a post-grunge band, and personally, I wouldn't put them in that because I just think they're like an alternative rock. Same thing with the Goo Goo Dolls,
Right.
but it's just like, oh, like this happened to happen within this 10-year period that was directly after this other 10-year period, so it's got to be post-grunge, and it's really interesting. But I do think there was a lot of good music that came out of it, and
100%.
I listened to it. Here's a question: Is Hootie and the Blowfish post grunge then? like where does the line get drawn? Alanis Morissette, is she post grunge? Like, what are we doing here?
This list I was looking at earlier said Stone Temple Pilots.
Okay, and I need to go. Yeah, I'd like to rant for a second if I could.
You have the floor, Chris.
I have the floor. This is great.
I'll get my drink.
So there's a lot of bands out there, or a lot of publications out there that categorize a lot of different bands as being post-grunge. But so many of the fucking bands that they're talking about started in like 1989 or 1990 before grunge proper was a thing. So they're not post-grunge. Like Failure, for example, I think they started in 1990 and they're like, oh, a post-grunge band from wherever the fuck they're from. Mm-hmm. They're not post. They were creating music as an outfit prior to grunge even entering the lexicon of popular culture or certainly music categorization. So I don't know. I mean, even Candlebox, for example, I mean, they were in it, and everyone's like, "Oh, Candlebox is a post-grunge band." Like, I don't really jive with that. I don't think there's a lot of merit to categorizing them that way. But then again, I don't know that I've really placed much emphasis on how certain things are categorized. Yeah, I mean, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. That's
my rant, by the way. I'm done.
You're good. Speaking of Failure, I was there's that type of music that came out of the 90s that wasn't grunge, but that was a little bit like just really hazy. Like I feel like Smashing Pumpkins can sound like this. They just played in Birmingham this past weekend. Actually, I missed it. I was out of town, but like Failure, so like Lemonheads, and a few other of the like honestly Nuke Seattle, the page.
Yeah.
We really like him, and he posts like. That genre.
He's in it.
Basically.
He's in the trenches. He's in the archives.
If you guys need a really good like 90s alternative rock, and we're not talking grunge or Pearl Jam or like the post grunge stuff, like kind of a little bit more just like I said, it's a little more hazy.
This man's in the vault.
Kind of, he's really got some good stuff, and he's on top of it, and he just posts great videos. And I always really like getting into that type of music.
Yeah, I agree.
And the post grunge, I mean,
yeah,
go ahead.
So I need to interject here because we were talking about Failure. I have a Failure fact for you.
Give it to me.
I'm gonna see them. I'm buying tickets. They're coming to Boston next month, June 25th. I'm gonna buy a ticket. I'm gonna go.
Why not, dude? I love that.
I just need to hear "Stuck on You" live, and I will ascend. I will ascend into heaven at that moment.
What happens if they don't play it?
They have to play it, right?
They have to. Yeah, like
if they don't play it, I'm gonna request my $17.50 refund and cry my way back to Providence.
Jeez, that would be. Would you? That would be terrible if they didn't play that. Would you consider the Foo Fighters post grunge?
So that's another. They're on every single list.
They are right after grunge, obviously. But
if we're playing by the rules of the field, I guess you have to because they operated in that realm. But I just can't do it. I can't put them in that category.
I hate Pat Smear and Dave Grohl in the band and Taylor.
Well, and that's the weird thing when you think about the Foo Fighters. I don't know if you do this, but for some reason, I've always kind of put them out like in their own thing. Like I've never thought of them as like a rock band. I've never thought of them as like alt or like grunt, whatever. I'm just like the Foo Fighters. Like that is its own genre.
What other bands do you do that with? What other bands have their own genre?
Oh man,
I think Pink Floyd is its own band.
Yeah, Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd is like the ultimate. Like I don't like people. It's psychedelic, I guess, but it is so. It's just Pink Floyd,
Yeah, I mean, I do that. I do that with Soundgarden, for example. Like, I think that they're unique. Yeah. They're one of one. I mean, there's a lot of bands that are, I would say, unique enough to kind of hold their own space. And there's a lot of musicians that I struggle to place Modest Mouse in a particular spot, nor I don't really care. Same thing. We listen to a lot of Petey. I don't know what genre he is, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not the point of it. So
is there any other band that like, just encapsulates their, it's like, their own genre, I guess. Like, I mean, the Grateful Dead is one, like they're just the Dead. I mean, nah.
Well, you have your pioneers, obviously, of different genres and kind of like your ancestors of different things. But I mean, it's interesting. I mean, there's two sides of that coin. I mean, there's like, wow, this is its own thing, and then there's 15 bands that sound this exact same way. I mean, it's like you have your White Stripes, Black Keys record company, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, like all those kind of things, which I like that music, but there's very much like a mold there, in my opinion. So I don't know. It's interesting to think about, but yeah, Foo Fighters, they've always kind of been their own thing, and I can't do it to them. I just cannot put them with post-grunge.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, they're kind of their own.
I would definitely kind of think of them as
like,
their
would you
own.
say rock or funk or whatever? They're just like, when someone says, you know exactly what they're talking. The sound.
It would have depended at which time somebody asked me about that too. With a band that had longevity like that. So, in terms of post-grunge, some of these bands, they've been together for a while. I think a lot of their music, some of it's aged well, in my opinion. I think by the general consensus of music listeners abroad, worldwide, a lot of it has not aged super, super well. But, just kind of talking about some of these bands, like what is your perception of post-grunge and a lot of these bands that get a lot of flack?
I guess my initial reaction is, I think that, I mean, they did really well while it was happening.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. I mean, the people that kind of lived through it, like, I mean, these bands have followings, and I feel like Woodstock 99 had all of the post-grunge bands, there. And, I feel like they get a little bit too much shit, for the music that they put out, mainly because, I feel like I found myself growing up with it and listening to it a lot. I remember had a 9th grade music class, and I brought in Breaking Benjamin, Diary of Jane to play for the class because we had to pick our favorite song. Nice. And that was like the album that I was listening to a lot. So I played Diary of Jane, and I think that's considered a post-grunge band. So, I mean, I think that I love listening. I do enjoy listening to them. I do think that I don't love going like deep into any of their discographies, though.
Yeah, I will never really do that with a lot of these bands.
And I think that like they have I guess their goal was radio, probably because that's when it was really big. And so a lot of the songs have the same kind of melody, the same kind of infrastructure. So some of the songs can be similar. So that's why I think the really good ones are really good. And then the rest of their catalog could be considered similar, and people don't like that. So, you can kind of stop after their top whatever songs, and then you'll be good.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to note. I mean, I think their top stuff is really good, but that's all you really need. Put them on a playlist and enjoy the nostalgia.
A lot of playlist bands, in my opinion, not really a dedicated front. And even just kind of thinking off of a lot of these bands, I can only really pick out a few records that I've listened to front to back and intended to listen to them front to back. Like, I can think about Matchbox 20's Yourself or Someone Like You. I've definitely listened to that one front to back. I guess if the Goo Goo Dolls are post-grunge, I think Dizzy Up the Girl and A Boy Named Goo I've listened to front to back. All of the Creed albums I consistently listen to front to back because they're pieces of art. But
what about Hints, Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid?
No, I cherry picked that one. I cherry picked that sucker. Same thing with Hinder's Extreme Behavior. You just pick Lips of an Angel off of that one and call it a day.
Or Disciplined Breakdown.
There were so many good album names that came out of this little era here.
See if Human Clay. I mean, all of the Creed album
My
titles.
Own Prison, Weather.
Yeah.
Full Circle after the hiatus. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. Here's another band that I forgot about. Do you know? Are you knowledgeable at all about the band Chevelle?
I know Chevelle through our producer Drew.
Okay.
Drew and his dad were big post-grunge guys. He would always come and play. We wanted to play Glycerine, Machine Head. Chevelle had a song called Red, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, the Red.
The Red.
And, the Red. And yes, and we tried to and I I can hear it in my head right now. And holy shit, dude. Sorry, me and Drew are right here. We're just laughing because his dad really wanted us to play that. And I really know very little about Chevelle.
Yeah,
it's just that it was brought to the table.
Yeah,
it was brought to the table and we were supposed to play it because it was pretty hardcore back in the day.
It's heavy. Yeah, I only know they have a song called Face to the Floor, which was on a very young and developing Chris Salona's lifting playlist, I think when he was a sophomore in high school. But those case in point, a lot of these bands, I probably could only tell you a couple of their songs. I don't spend a lot of time there, but I will say, I'm going to guess that most people who are listening to this too, certainly, whether they'll admit it or not, I think the overwhelming majority of people who occupy our space in like the grunge rock community on Instagram, wherever, the podcast, they all liked these bands before they were told by somebody else that they shouldn't like them.
Of course.
I think that's how it is, because I remember I loved Nickelback, Chris? Until somebody told me that, hey, you shouldn't like Nickelback. I was like, Nickelback sucks.
Yeah.
But
Chris, this is important. What do we do about this? I feel like we have the power, and we should do something for the post-grunge people of the world. The post-grunge bands.
They're out there.
They're still touring. They have to tour because they're
touring,
trying to,
and you know what? They're making money.
Mr. Puddle of Mud is out there.
Yeah, and he's rocking it. He wears the Pat Mahomes jersey every single show. It's kind of awesome.
He posted that he was at the game, and then they lost, and he deleted it or something. And it was hilarious. I was like, oh, I didn't know he was a fan. Then I went back to send it to you, I think, and it was gone.
Like nothing ever happened. He was that upset about the loss, huh?
I think so. But I feel like we should do something for post-grunge. Like, there... I mean... Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if there's like...
I mean, we've already done a lot to raise awareness for the post-grunge. Certainly, sometimes it's been in jest, but I mean, there's lots of times where... I'll post something that's post-grunge just because it rips, and that's basically all there is to it, and we're honest about that. That's all you need a reason
for, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's basically the reason why we have this following, is to be able to share things like that and be like, hey, I don't really have any other commentary on this aside from the fact that it's fucking awesome and it rips.
So if I'm thinking about the timeline, it goes, obviously like classic rock, 80s metal, grunge, post-grunge, and then new metal is like kind of what came out of post-grunge, right? People wanted to get heavy again, and
I think so. It was always
new metal, and then like Britney Spears
and then
stuff.
It randomly, yeah.
So let's just get into it. What do you think about new metal, and did that ever have a place to? Because that was definitely Woodstock '99. There was a lot of that too.
Oh yeah. So
is there influences come from like Megadeth and all of those?
I would say
like,
it comes from
bands.
A lot of those bands, certainly, and here I am speaking about something that I know virtually nothing about, because I have to be honest, I hate
that
new
was
metal.
Not your thing. That was not your thing.
I don't really like metal either. I don't see what the big deal is about Metallica. I don't really
Megadeth, that's Anthrax.
Anthrax, Lamb of God.
Slayer.
And Ethan, I have to be honest with you, there's a lot of what Tool does that I just it doesn't resonate with me. I don't seek it out, and if I do find it on my journey, I don't enjoy it. So I think that's just
drinking. It's like drinking the last quarter of your warm beer.
Exactly. You're committed to it.
It's a rite of passage to get your next one, but you don't leave anything out there.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it's like you have to acquire the taste, but I don't know that I'll ever acquire the taste, because I I don't know that I'll commit the brain power to trying to ingest new metal. But it seems like, you know, these genres that we're talking about, post-grunge, new metal, I mean, there's always going to be bands that are making music like this, and there's certainly bands that were a part of that era at the time. But do you think those genres kind of have a future at all? Like, do you think that because there's certainly people who go in right now with their buddies and like, I want to sound like Mike McCready, or I want to sound like Alice in Chains now. I just don't know how much of a market share a lot of these bands have in terms of what people are listening to get inspired by to make new music.
Mm-hmm. Do I think so? You're asking me if I think that there's a place for like new metal and post grunge like moving forward?
Yeah, like you think we're gonna get more of that? I think it's hard to tell what things are now, though. Such a melting pot.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tough. I feel like the band dynamic has really taken a hit in the past 10 years, and
it's tough sledding out there.
Yeah, I think it's worked out for the top majority, and I think maybe just the way social media is set up, it's more set up for like individuals. I don't know. I don't know if there's. It's a weird landscape, but I would say that new metal is probably not going to make a comeback.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
it seems like in the popular landscape of like rock music now, it's almost become less and less defined, especially relative to what it was in the 90s, because you had like post-grunge, new metal, you had obviously the grunge artists, you had alternative, you had punk, you had Midwest emo, you had all those different things. And I think now it's like, as far as popular music and pop culture and top 40s considered, it's like, if there's a rock band, period, regardless of what derivative of rock it is, people are just, oh, this is a rock band. And I think people talk about a lot of these bands in the same spaces, whereas before, I think because rock music was a lot more popular, there was a need to kind of divide it up to have these conversations. So it seems like now, I think in terms of just casual top 40, we're so starved for rock music at this point that it's like, I think people just kind of take what they can get, and if there's anybody out there who's going to be able to make something that's reminiscent of that, they're just gonna refer to it as rock and roll, I guess.
I think that the post grunge, kind of like that softer rock, but also the heavier side of like both the softer and the heavier side of rock had an emotional release for me that I don't really get from the newer music and like stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like it was they did a good job of like, you know, the certain, I mean, Goo Goo Dolls or Matchbox 20 or the certain stuff, like it kind of pulled out. I mean, it was kind of sad, you know,
kind of
it did
emotional.
Its job, kind of emotional. And then like, or like the Seether and the Breaking Benjamin, it was like this kind of rage that had like a melody to it that made you like, I don't know, it just made you want to like punch your pillow to the beat of the song a little bit differently versus like nowadays. I don't know. I don't find, I'm trying to think of like,
I don't even know who's out there right now.
Yeah. Well, you got like,
that occupies
you have like
that popular space anymore.
Well, you kind of like MGK. I mean, they have this electronic emo rock that is
Did you listen to his record?
I have listened to bits and pieces of it. I don't think I've listened to it fully through, but I'll go on record and say I think MGK is pretty talented.
Oh,
I'll say
stunner here in the ninth round.
Like I feel like I think that what he does in Post Malone was this 10 years ago, or 7 years ago. I think MGK is doing a good job. A lot of stuff can sound the same, but I think that he's doing a good job. I don't like that every's kind of doing the same exact sound.
Yeah,
as
it
that.
Sucks.
It kind of does suck. But I think that what he's doing, I kind of appreciate it. I don't know.
You appreciate the effort.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes like with there's artists, it's like what Liederman said. Like, you know, it may not be my cup of tea, but like, you know, I appreciate. I think what he's doing is pretty. Has good substance to it in a weird way.
Interesting.
I don't know, but I do think like that's like the most emotional. Like emo rock is really big right now, and they got really good drummers on their team and stuff.
Yeah, they do. They totally do. I mean, I don't know. I definitely I've been spending more and more time.
You listen to the album?
What's that?
Did you listen to his album?
So I haven't yet, but I at the present time, I'm doing that thing where I haven't really done any research or due diligence, but I have an overwhelmingly a negative opinion of it already. So I think my homework assignment for episode 63 next week will be to take
a review his album,
to take a to take a listen and to see what I think about Machine Gun Kelly.
You know what we should do for next week's episode? We should take a poll. And we should review like 4 albums, pretty briefly, but we should talk about 4 albums that we listened to for the first time fully through. And MGK could be one of them.
Kind of like a live react thing almost.
Kind of a live react. We could just do bands that maybe like, it would just be more raw, not song by song, of course, but I don't know. Spitballing.
I think that'd be a good idea. I mean, we'll start with MGK, and then we'll do Jack Harlow, and then we'll do Harry Styles.
Oh my gosh!
And then we'll just have to pick somebody else who's recently put something else out. I did listen to the new Harry Styles album. It's fucking awesome.
Is it?
I like it a lot. I have not listened to Jack Harlow or to MGK, but I have my work cut out for me.
Look at us, the Grunge Bubble podcast, talking about having. But the thing is, I feel like I don't know why I feel like I need to have listened to it at least once through. I think I like being educated, so I want to have I want to have an opinion on it. It's kind of
nice to know the terrain a little bit, just so something comes up, you're like, oh yeah.
And I don't want to find myself saying that I hate them and I've never listened to them. I want to have at least some sort of basis.
Yeah.
So,
trying not to become like the people that comment horrible things about anything that's not pre-1994 that we post.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with that. But Post-Grunge, that was some wild shit. A lot of people got very, very wealthy, and a lot of the music that came out of it has an enduring legacy. Whether it's a positive or negative one, we'll leave that up to you.
Last question, then, Chris.
What's
last
that?
question before we
right,
move off the. So, who is your favorite post-grunge band?
My favorite post-grunge band. Do you want my real answer or my answer that I've just gotten kind of jacked up to say?
Well, is it Creed or Nickelback?
Well, I honestly think that it's Creed. Like I just listened to them a couple days ago for my lift on Wednesday. Yeah. I listened to them. I needed something a little like that, and I unironically do listen to Creed from time to time. But the real answer...
what's your jacked up? Is that your jacked up answer?
No, that's the real answer. The jacked up one is obviously it's the Collective Soul. It's Ed Roland.
Yes, I think that Collective Soul encompasses post-grunge better than any other band that we've talked about today.
I just love the concept of a singular collective soul.
And we've said it on the pod before. This is a safe zone for collective soul love. Mm-hmm. So we endorse it. Go listen to hints, allegations, and things left unsaid. What was the other one? Controlled breakdown, or what did I say?
Probably. Yeah. I have not done my recent refresher on the Collective Soul. All that I know is that it's collective,
very collective,
and we're all part of it, whether you like it or not. And that's the thing. Sometimes people don't like it, but that's just the way that it goes. I mean, what about you? Those are my 2 answers. You don't have to have 2 if you just have one. That it's like, this is what I think. I know you referenced Bush earlier.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Bush does a really good job because no one's gonna. I don't think anybody really categorizes them as grunge.
No.
And if we posted them, people would say this isn't grunge. And I think that what they do, I think another good characteristic of a post grunge band is the lead singer, and so like Ed Roland and Gavin, they get the job done. And so I think that Bush is a really good option for that. Totally. I do like their.
Yeah, I like them a lot. I have a good fun fact around Bush, and Bush supplied one of my first favorite songs of my life. It was called "The People That We Love," I believe, and it was included in the soundtrack for Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, and I got it for a Christmas present. I was probably 6 or 7, and it was my favorite song on the soundtrack, and I used to love it. And it was one of the first songs that I think I was aware of that I considered to be one of my favorites. So Bush, for that reason, will always have a soft spot.
Love that.
That's great stuff.
They're good. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but they might be my song of the week.
I know. The gears are shifting right now. I've got the board in front of me. I'm trying to decide what I want to do. But we'll buy some time before we have to get to that, because we do have some people that we have to thank. Namely, our producer Drew McFadden, who is under the same roof as you right now at the time of this recording. I'm glad that you two were able to get together and spend some time together this week. As always, we like to thank Drew for everything that he does for this show. Additionally, everyone out there who's listening, who supported us by leaving a review, following, subscribing, becoming a patron, buying merch, or just following the page and interacting. We're very, very thankful for that, and we hope that you continue to hang out with us over these periods of time that we spend each week, even on the weeks that Ethan and I are less enthused and might not have our fastball. But hey, when your time comes up in the rotation, you got to head out there and you got to work with what you have, and we're working with what we have, as you all are, and as we have to do every single day. So we're thankful for you out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and if you have time, please go and like and subscribe the podcast on whatever you're listening. If it is Apple or Spotify or all of the other random sites, see if you can leave a review. See if you can leave a thumbs up, and if you can't, just keep following us on the page and sharing us. Help other people hear the good word of the grunge, and we'll keep doing it. It's a simple trade-off. You guys support us, and we'll keep doing it.
Absolutely. So before we get to Song of the Week, there is an element, there's a segment of this show that is very, very important. Its importance has only grown this spring here in 2022.
Oh, yes. We need a check-in.
That is the Jerry Cantrell Brighton tour check-in. So Jerry and the gang, they are resting right now because they spent the entire spring rocking the United States, and they're getting ready to go and rock Europe. But they're enjoying some well-deserved rest at this point, and I think that's a lesson. There's a lesson in that for all of us. Sometimes you gotta know when you need some rest, and Jerry and the gang
let Jerry rest.
Yeah, let Jerry rest. He's tired. He worked hard, and he's ready. I just hope that everyone in Europe is ready to have their hair blown off and their eyebrows blown off by the mighty power of Jerry Cantrell and his touring band on the Brighton tour.
Yeah, dude. That I'm glad we do need to check in with them every time that.
I almost forgot, and then I realized we have to do it.
Yeah, I understand. I also do want to put this editorial in for what I think is the most post-grunge lyric out there, and it's one of your favorites, and it is by 7 Mary 3. Cumbersome, and it's too heavy, too light, too black or too white, too wrong or too right, today or tonight. Cumbersome.
I have become cumbersome.
Oh wait, that actually harkens back to another one of my favorite post-grunge lyrics. It's by Bush.
Is this Machine Head's lyrics?
Yes. Hold on, I don't want to get it wrong.
I do remember this. I remember we were going through a random Bush phase, and I went to a Kansas City Chiefs game, the AFC Championship a few years ago when they played the Patriots, and they were playing this song like in between plays, like every seventh play they would play the ascending guitar riff at the beginning of Machine Head, and I remember texting you repeatedly about it. But yeah, the lyrics to that one, I think is it the chorus or is it the verse?
Is actually, is this the one? Was it the
it's the red to green thing that's going on there?
Where the heck is it? I'm
the moment of truth.
Dude, these lyrics are they're electric. These are electric.
Yeah, they're absolutely electric. And that's basically that's all Gavin Rossdale does. That's all he's done for the duration of his life, is he just drops absolutely incredible lyrics and incredible songs.
I can't find the red or green. Where is it? Oh, green to red. Yeah, it says got a Machine Head. It's better than rest. Green to red, Machine Head.
Yeah.
I thought that maybe there's another lyric that I was thinking about too, but I walk from my machine, dude.
That's
wow.
how it goes.
Anyway, okay, let's do song of the week, Chris.
Yeah, let's do song of the week.
So my song, I am gonna stick with Bush. I'll give everybody a Bush pick for you guys, and you guys probably know, but I really do like "Come Down." I think that one is just really good. It's got a really good tone to it. Gavin does a really good job singing. It fits like exactly what you want to hear from Bush, and they do a great job rocking it. And I really do like Glycerine too, but I'm picking "Come Down" for this one. That whole album is kind of gas in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny how many bands
16 Stone.
Yeah, that's the one that Glycerine is off of too, I believe.
Yeah, that's the one they're all off of.
Yeah.
That's not the only album.
They're all from that town.
I don't think I've listened to it.
There are a lot of post-grunge bands that I forget about. I just forget to mention them. Days of the New, for example, they're in the mix. Some people categorize Filter and Live as post-grunge bands.
Yeah. Yes,
Live. Fuel is in the mix as well. Obviously, Collective Soul. There's a lot of them. It was a very, very full era. Tantric. I mean, there's a lot of players in this. I've
never heard that
playground.
Marcy's Playground.
Yeah, exactly.
I took a chance and listened to their album straight through on the way down to San Diego yesterday. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Is it the it's the one, right, that Sex and Candy was off of, I assume.
It is. What was the album is Marcy Playground self-titled.
Yep.
And it was really good. It has some good stuff on there.
Yep. So I think it's time for me to share my song of the week.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's so many songs that are running through my head that are vying for the title for episode 62. But I'm going to pick none of them. I'm going to go back to a conversation that you and I had probably about this time last week when you were driving to California. I know you were en route, and I sent you the song called California by our man Petey. And yes. I'm gonna name that as my song of the week. I think that at some point we're gonna end up having every single song from his Lean Into Life album on the song of the week. But I know you had said that you played this album front to back in the car when you were driving with your friend Nick from Arizona to California, and yes. you kind of had a special moment with this album. I think the writing on there is impeccable. Certainly on this song too, and yeah, as soon as you texted me about that, because I had sent you this song and you replied that you had that experience. I listened to the album front to back right after that one night earlier this week, and same thing. It's just it always gets me thinking and gets me viewing things in different ways, and it's been a little period for me the last 2 weeks or so where I've kind of struggled to really latch on to anything musically. I haven't really known where to go to listen to music lately. Nothing's really been doing it for me, but going back to the Lean Into Life album from Petey in California, I think it's the first song on the record.
Yeah.
It fit the bill, and that's going to be my song of the week because of that. It's music for people.
Yeah, for regular people. That's awesome. I put that album on and we drove from Arizona. This time we drove through Phoenix, but there's so many like sand dunes and mountains, and you kind of drive in on a flat, straight road, and you're with one of your oldest friends from a long time, and you listen to this album, and mid-20s, both of you are kind of in a vulnerable position in your life, a lot of movement, a lot of career decisions and stuff, and it was quite the experience. It really was special, and that's why I love music. You can put something on, and especially when you feel like he's never listened to it, so we were, I was sharing it with him, and I could, which is it's also nice when we jumped over to the front bottoms after, and then we both were singing, but
yeah,
it's nice to kind of show somebody and then kind of tell them why you like certain songs, like this one, listen to this part, listen to the chorus here.
Yeah. It's all this stuff's connected, and There's
100%.
nothing better than sharing music with friends. I think especially old friends, because you can't make new old friends, and
Can't.
it's always you telling me that story of that drive really made
I'm
me
excited.
anxious.
When you're gonna go for a road trip and you're gonna do the same thing, and you're gonna. I already know that you're gonna have the same.
I was just gonna say it made me really anxious and excited for the next time I'm able to do something similar. And I think we need to do a road trip together.
I love it.
I think we got to do it.
Dang. Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely.
That'll be the next podcast. We'll talk about where we're gonna go.
Yeah, we'll leave it up to the patrons.
Yeah. Where in the world is Chris and Ethan gonna go?
Yeah. Who knows? We can go wherever we want.
Well, I think that wraps up episode 62. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Small banter, not too serious, just some post-grunge. Next week we will be back better than ever. But for now, enjoy your week. Listen to Nickelback. Listen to your Creed. Listen to your Collective Soul. And do not be ashamed, because they are good bands. There, I said it.
They're good bands.
They're good bands, and they have a place. And I know you guys that are listening. You guys believe it. You guys have that place in your heart for these bands.
We know that you all know.
Yeah,
so
we know because we're the same.
You just got to believe
and lean into life a little bit.
That's the way it goes. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Take care of yourselves and those around you, and we will see you all next week for episode 63.
Rock and roll, guys. Love you. Have a great week.
Rock and roll.